All right, this is just a quick one-take video on what I think is the most important upgrade you can make if you buy a full suspension e-bike, especially if you're buying in the $1,000 to $2,000-ish category. A lot of times you'll get something that's really well designed, like a motorcycle, but they'll put this spring on it that's basically the same exact thing you would get on a Walmart bike. Like a $99 Walmart bike has this exact same shock on it.
Fact check false. It's a $148 bike now, but you can see it's the same spring, and that's how you would adjust it if you had one of these.
It's very heavy, and the spring tension on this one is 1,000 pounds. So it basically rides like a hardtail. Like there's barely any give, and the only adjustment you have is this giant nut that puts tension on the spring to make it more tense, but there's no damping. And so you get these cheap springs on an e-bike and it just rides exactly like a hardtail. So there's really no reason to have spent the extra money on a bike with rear suspension. So this shock actually came out of this Rave Bullet, and it's got one of the most comfortable seats. If you're looking for the most comfortable seat on an e-bike, the Rave Bullets, this is the GT. I think the GT is a little more comfortable than the GTX, but that's my own personal preference. So that came with this spring, and it was like a hardtail, just beating the hell out of your spine.
Whoa, you got butt slam!
I have upgraded to a DNM shock. The only trick is any one of these e-bikes, you can see getting to the air valve is tricky. Like on this one, I have to sit on the seat to move the suspension up to be able to get to the air valve. So if you're gonna do this, make sure that you put it the right way and that you will actually be able to reach your air valve. Same thing with this one. This one's really locked in a cage here. This is a Ape Rider Bonobo. Really fun bike, but feels like a hardtail with this Walmart mountain bike spring on it. And then you might ask, what if my spring is tiny? Because some bikes, like some of the little suspension folding e-bikes, have little teeny tiny shocks on them. So you can get a really small air shock. Like this one I'm gonna put on another bike I'll show you here in a second. But the way that you measure shock size on these bikes, you measure from the center of the one bolt down to the center of the other bolt. And that's how you get the size of the shock, assuming you're gonna replace it with the same size shock, just better. And then you pump up the air up or down depending on how comfortable you wanna be or how heavy you are. So on this one, this is a bobber style bike. Really cool look, and that's actually a motorcycle seat on it. I've put this seat pad on it because it's not super comfortable, but it has a shock absorber here. This is the kind of shock absorber you'll see on a lot of the cheaper folding e-bikes. You know, sometimes you'll see one or two of these, and supposedly it's suspension, but this bike is rated for somebody who weighs up to 350 pounds, and this thing does not budge when I go over a bump. It just shoots me up in the air.
And this is what that looks like in slow motion. You can see the air underneath my buttocks.
So the solution is get a tiny shock like that, mount it with the air valve down so I can reach it easily, and then play around with it until I've got a smooth as air ride, and it'll make a big difference.
And here's what a 15-mile-an-hour speed bump looks like in slow motion. Now, that's still pretty fast to hit a speed bump, but you can see it does absorb a lot more shock than it did previously.
So that's my advice to you. If there are any shock absorber parts in your e-bike and they look like the same shock you see at Walmart, upgrade that first. This is a DNM shock here. I like what they do. This is also a DNM shock, so good results with this one. It rides perfect.
You'll also need a shock pump. You can get one for around $20, and then you want to pump it up so it sags a little bit when you sit on the seat so it can move up and down.
So thanks for watching. Hope that helps somebody out there. Ride safe.